Picture this, a two-time Champions League winner, just 24 years old, a player who's proven himself on football's biggest stage time and again. Now imagine that same player becoming available, openly seeking a move away from Real Madrid, with Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool all circling like sharks. You think the bidding war would be nuclear, right? Yet when the summer transfer window slammed shut, Rodrygo was still wearing the famous white shirt of Real Madrid. Not a single concrete offer materialized. Not one club pulled the trigger. So what on earth happened? Why did nobody sign one of the most talented wingers on the planet? The first barrier club's hit was absolutely eye-watering. Real Madrid valued Rodrygo between 80 and 100 million euros. You might argue that he's earned that tag, but here's where it gets. 14 goals and 11 assists across 54 appearances sounds respectable on paper, but context matters. From February onwards, his form completely flatlined. One goal in his final 25 appearances before the Club World Cup. One. For a player with a 9-figure price tag, that's catastrophic. Premier League clubs weren't stupid. They could see the numbers and, more importantly, they could see the pattern. Rodrygo's confidence appeared shot. He was subbed off at half-time in the Copa del Rey final against Barcelona after an anonymous performance. Carlo Ancelotti later dropped him entirely for crucial fixtures. And when Xabi Alonso arrived, Rodrygo found himself watching from the bench at the Club World Cup, playing just 4 minutes in the knockout stages of a tournament where he should have been showcasing himself wasn't exactly the shop window he needed. Madrid were asking top dollar for substandard goods, and everyone in the market could smell it. But the transfer fee was only the beginning of the nightmare. Rodrygo was earning approximately £10 million annually at Real Madrid. That's around £200,000 per week. Now here's the kicker. His camp was demanding a significant increase on those wages to facilitate any move. We're talking potentially 12 million euros net per season, according to Spanish reports. Suddenly, clubs weren't just looking at a €100 million transfer fee. They were staring down the barrel of a financial commitment that could cripple their wage structure for years. People's assessments were brutally honest. They highlighted that European clubs had a massive fear of committing to those kind of figures. If the transfer went wrong, and given Rodrygo's recent form, that was a very real possibility, you'd be stuck with an enormous problem. Journalists pointed specifically to Chelsea's struggles with Raheem Sterling as a cautionary tale, someone the Blues still can't get rid of. The last thing any club wanted was another Sterling situation, especially with a player whose form had completely deserted him. This wage demand completely contradicted what Chelsea had been doing successfully in the market. Arsenal faced a similar dilemma. They just spent big on Victor Gyökeres, Martin Zubimendi and Noni Madueke. Their wage bill was already stretched, and Mikel Arteta has always been careful about maintaining squad harmony when it comes to salaries. Giving Rodrygo significantly more than established stars like Bukayo Saka or Martin Odegaard would have caused absolute chaos in the dressing room. Manchester City, despite Pep Guardiola being a confirmed admirer, had their own complications. They'd already assembled one of the most expensive squads in world football, with players like Doku, Foden, Savinho and new signing Ryan Cherki occupying similar positions. Did they really need another 9-figure winger on astronomical wages? The answer was no. Then there's the tactical puzzle nobody talks about enough. Where exactly would Rodrygo fit into these super clubs? His preferred position is left wing, cutting inside onto his stronger right foot. But let's be real about what he'd have been walking into. At Arsenal, Gabriel Martinelli owns that spot, and despite his own inconsistencies, Arteta trusts him implicitly. Arsenal's system is built around the partnership between Martinelli and Odegaard on that left side. Rodrygo would need months to develop that same chemistry, and there's no guarantee it would ever click. Plus, Arsenal want Eberechi Eze, a player who fits their possession-based approach more naturally and comes without the baggage of Madrid's wage demands. At Liverpool, the likes of Gakpo and Ekitike now occupy that left-sided role with devastating effect. Rodrygo, for all his technical brilliance, is more of a finesse player. He thrives in spaces with clever movement and quick combinations. That works beautifully in La Liga, where teams often sit deep against Madrid. But in the Premier League's chaos, where transitions happen in seconds and physical battles define matches, there were genuine questions about whether his game would translate. Manchester City's situation was even more complex. Guardiola's system demands tactical intelligence that takes months, sometimes years, to master. Rodrygo would have been competing for minutes with established City performers who already understand Pep's intricate demands. The Premier League adaptation question loomed larger than people realise. Rodrygo had never played outside La Liga at club level. Would he cope with the league's relentless pace? Could he handle the physical punishment from defenders who treat wingers like tackling dummies? The risk was very real. Perhaps most damaging of all was the timing. Stories leaked about him telling Ancelotti's staff that he didn't feel strong or in the mood to play before the Copa del Rey final. Multiple sources close to Madrid suggested he sometimes lacked motivation in training. Whether those reports were fair or planted to justify a potential sale, they absolutely poisoned the well. No club wants to invest 100 million euros and massive wages in a player with question marks over his mentality. That is recruitment suicide. Then came the saga with his father and agent Eric Goes, who'd been complaining loudly about Rodrygo's situation at the club. Premier League clubs heard about these tensions. They saw a player whose camp was being difficult, demanding massive money, while the player himself appeared conflicted about whether he wanted to even leave. That is a recipe for disaster. Arsenal in particular had been monitoring closely, but Rodrygo kept hedging, waiting to speak with Xabi Alonso, posting cryptic messages on social media. Clubs can't wait around indefinitely for a player to make up his mind, especially when they have alternative targets who actually want to join. Arsenal eventually backed away entirely, prioritising Eze instead. That decision alone should tell you everything. If the Gunners didn't think that Rodrygo was worth the hassle, why would anyone else? What's absolutely wild is that by late summer, Madrid appeared willing to lower their asking price to around 80 million euros. That 20 million drop should have sparked interest, but it didn't, because the fundamental problems remained unchanged. The wages were still enormous, the form was still concerning, the tactical fit was still questionable. And most importantly, nobody knew which Rodrygo they'd be getting, the clutch performer or the ghost who often vanishes. The fear of commitment paralyzed the market. In an era where clubs are increasingly cautious about financial fair play, Rodrygo represented exactly the kind of gamble that clubs run away from. So Rodrygo stayed at Real Madrid, not only because Alonso promised to give him a chance, but because nobody could stomach the financial risk. The Brazilian summer transfer saga will go down as one of the strangest non-transfers in recent memory. A player everyone wanted in theory, but nobody wanted in practice. Given that he's yet to score a goal in the league or Europe this season, we could be having this same conversation very soon. How do you think the Brazilian would have fared in the Premier League? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to turn on the post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. We'll see you next time. Bye.